Hi, I got a specific question about Pinguicula soil, so I wanted to walk through what I've done and kind of my journey with all that. So the really quick answer for people who want to just kind of get in and out of this video, um, I think the quick answer is looking at the World of Pinguicula website, following their formula, and I think it's okay to omit an ingredient or two. Theirs is a little bit complicated. I left out I think the calcium-rich clay. I mean, some other ingredients like that might be hard to find. But I started there and I've really had great success. Another place that I hear people begin is by making soil that's four equal parts of peat, perlite, pumice, and sand. I would use coarse horticultural sand. I've not tried that myself, but I hear that's kind of a general guidance for where to begin as well. So the longer answer is that it really depends on your conditions, as far as what's optimum for you. But in general, the lever that you're going to be pulling is always peat. Um, Peat is the moisture retention in your ping soil, and if you have really dry or hot conditions, you'll want more peat. Say, like if you're in Southern California, I hear growers down there include much more peat in their formulas. And up here in the wet Pacific Northwest, I use very little peat at this point. So here I have three examples of different soils, and really, I mean, I don't have a ping in here right now, but one lived in here for 2 years. So, they're really resistant. I do think they perform kind of better in some soils, but just, to kind of demonstrate, like, you don't need to get this perfectly exact. Pings are forgiving. Over time, I think they'll tell you if they're, sad or not, and they're not a whole lot of cases where they're going to quickly decline. But here is a ping. I bought Pinguicula gypsicola in here. It was in here for 2 years. This is super peaty. And I'll zoom in and kind of show you here. Super peaty, and like, I want to say the formula was probably 50% peat and 50% sand. And that's okay for other carnivorous plants, but for Pinguicula, like in the conditions I keep them in my house, this was really kind of soggy. But the plants still hung on. They never really did super well. I ended up taking them out. But just to kind of show you, like, you have Utricularia growing in here too. So like wet, wet. Then I moved to kind of, I think just like a less peat formula. So I think this one had, I mean, maybe it was like 30% peat maximum. So, I mean, nowhere near the 50% that previous pot was. And here you can see there's a lot less mold growth, but you can still see the peat for sure, right? So, I think this is much better for my space. But over time, I kind of have been following what my, I guess, ping mentor, Bob Beer, has done. And he has been really trying sort of just minerally and minerally if you can understand that, like higher and higher mineral percentages versus peat. So the formula that I use lately is this one. I have some En Passy babies in here, and I'll move some of this soil around. Like, this is really loose. You can kind of just see I'm like rolling it in here. The big change here is that now it includes turfus. So turfus is it's aquarium planting medium. It's also the stuff that's used on baseball diamonds, but if you buy that, of course, you'd want to buy stuff that's not chemically treated. But what I do now is I will take a mixture, and I'll zoom out here and kind of show you the bag itself. Like, I'll use this mixture of turfus, which is kind of the orange stuff. There's turfus, and then a mix of perlite and pumice, kind of smaller pumice chunks. And to this, I'll add a little bit of peat, just for a little bit of kind of extra, like, moisture capture. So I just have loose peat. I would say the ratio is at the very most 20%, but it's probably less now. So I'll just kind of mix this up as I go, and often what I'm doing with Pinguicula is I'm removing, what's it called? Moss, sorry. I'm removing moss, so a lot of times I'm just removing that top layer. I'm then kind of filling in, which is something I can do like literally with this tiny spoon. Like, it's, these are low volumes of soil. So I would say Yeah, the other trick there is that in these pots, so let me get this out of the way. In these pots that I have, like, I would say only the top half at the very most, probably like the top third, is actually the ping soil. And if you've ever seen ping roots, they're so small and almost incidental, right, to the rest of the plant size that you don't need like tons of root room for these, right? Like they're so sort of superficial. So you only really need to use this ping formula kind of in the top layers. So that's something you can play with. Under here, I think I have just a succulent soil that I bought like off the shelf. And really, this could be causing some moss growth, right? There could be some other issues with just kind of what's contained in that soil. So that's a totally fair criticism there. I think you could use other kind of generic like soils, anything that's going to conduct water from your tray. But yeah, that's just another trick and kind of another thing that I'm doing. And really it continues to sort of evolve, I guess. I'll probably have another formula, like a slightly different one, in a year. I would guess that will also have very little peat in it, though. So again, I would try it out in your space. If you're in an arid area, you're gonna want more peat because you don't want your plants to dry out or be shocked or anything. Um, but yeah, I guess the only other bit that I'll mention, a lot of people too like to plant these in pumice stones or various types of stones. In my stone plantings, I've used more peat because I do feel like I want a little bit of moisture retention if the stone's going to have any kind of wicking property. Like if the stone dries out, is it going to suck moisture out of the soil around the ping? For those reasons, I just put a little bit more peat than I would in this plastic pot. But yeah, those are kind of my different approaches. Again, if you're getting started, go to World of Pinguicula. I think it's just pinguicula.org. It's a French site, but a lot of information there. I'll put a link in the bottom as well. Or if you're starting out, I would just go with peat, perlite, pumice, and sand, all in equal parts. But yeah, don't worry, not too many mistakes that you can make here. Kind of hard to go terribly wrong, and just be ready to adjust as you go. Let me know if you have any questions, and hope that's helpful. Thanks.